Hello, everyone. Welcome to this talk on Enterprise Kotlin, as I named it, Jakarta EE for Kotlin developers. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at Jakarta EE. We're going to have a short look at Kotlin and see what happens if we put them together. Like how well do they fit together, and yeah, what happens when we do it. So that's what we're going to do for the next 40 minutes or so. So my name is Mats Opheim, as you can see on the slide. I'm a developer here in Norway. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, people. It's afternoon here. It's nice to spend some time with you talking about Kotlin and Jakarta. Always fun. So I work with Kotlin every day, and I really like Jakarta EE. So I figured out okay, what happens if we combine them? And that's the goal of this talk, like to show that yeah, you can combine it. It works really fine, really nice. Everything is you get all the benefits from Jakarta EE. So that's kind of a spoiler already on slide number 2, but well, I guess you can imagine it up front already. So Jakarta EE, what is that? I guess on the JakartaOne live stream, I guess most of you know Jakarta EE better than like the average developer, but just to ensure that we're on the same page, let's go have a short introduction to Jakarta EE. So yeah. So summarize, it's like full feature platform that provides the core technologies that you typically need in your applications, right? So what does that really mean? That's a high level summary from the Jakarta EE white paper, and it's true, but what does it mean when you dive into it? So if we look at Jakarta EE, you can see like this is what the Jakarta EE 10 platform consists of. And you can see that there are several profiles here, and you like everything is in the Jakarta EE 10 platform. Then you have the web profile, which has a subset of those technologies as well, and then you have the core profile with the core. And when you say that, we can see that in most applications you typically need like REST, for instance, that's part of the core along with CDI lights. We'll talk a little bit more about the difference between CDI light and CDI towards the end. It's cliffhanger there. But things you typically need like JSON and so on, part of the core profile. And if you look at the web profile, you have things like you often need as well, and things like mail and activation and batch and so on, you might need in a big application, right? So Jakarta EE has different profiles depending on your application's needs. And well, Jakarta EE is pretty big, like both in terms of lines of code with like 76 million lines of code, lots of projects, lots of member organizations and so on. So Jakarta EE is part of a big, what should we name it? Say a big community, a big foundation, big organization thing as well. That's as a developer and as someone into software as well, it's like you can relax a bit more when you know that lots of big companies, many people are developing something, then chances are that it's going to be well maintained and not disappear anytime soon. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions during my talk, please provide them in the chat and I try to answer as we go along, or towards the end, we'll see. So I say big companies, and by that I mean, well, IBM, Red Hat, Oyara, and many more. So, and each of those vendors provide their own application server. So on this slide, thanks to the EVA and the Jakarta and the organization and Eclipse Foundation for those slides, by the way. I figured it's nicer to use those than trying to copy it myself. But you can see there are lots of application servers that implement Jakarta EE, and that's important. That's important because if you stick with if you start out with, say, Glassfish, which is the fish you can see on the slide here, and you decide that, oh, I should be using OpenLiberty instead, then you can do that. You don't have to rewrite your entire application. You have to like read the wiring around, like POM files, Docker files, those things, but your Java code or Kotlin code can be completely untouched. for the switch application server if you're using Jakarta EE. That's one of the things I really like about Jakarta EE is that it's vendor neutral. You can switch between app services, but you don't have the lockdown that you might have with other technologies. Provides you with lots of application servers to choose from. And you can see on the right in the slide as well, you have a list of compatible products by releases. And that means that, well, some application servers are compatible with the newest Jakarta EE, which is number 10, while some are compatible with 9 or 8. And of course, that's relevant information for you as well when choosing what runtime to go for. So for this talks, yeah, okay, that's a lot of runtimes, right? You can see lines and lines of runtimes. So do they support Kotlin? Because this talk is about Kotlin, right? We typically talk about Jakarta EE and Java, but when you talk about Kotlin, what happens then? Let's have a look. Do the runtimes support Kotlin? Well, you could go to the Payara website, you can search for Kotlin and find exactly nothing, which indicates that the answer to does it support Kotlin is no. And you can do this with several other app servers as well. Payara isn't any worse or better than the other ones in general. So the answer is no, they don't support Kotlin. But if you look at Kotlin and the Kotlin official web page documentation, you can see this text, which has an important part I emphasized it. It has full compatibility with existing Java-based technology stacks. So the answer is yes. The runtimes actually do support Kotlin. And how is that? That's because Kotlin compiles to Java bytecode. So everything that supports Java, in principle, supports Kotlin. So it is possible, but like how much of a hassle is it? That's a completely different question, right? So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at a demo. I'm going to switch over here. Hopefully you can still see. Yeah, you can. You can see my IntelliJ. I can try to increase the screen size. I didn't think about that. Do it light as well. And now you see, yeah, you see my IntelliJ with a project. I forgot to mention that for this talk, I'm going to use OpenLiberty from IBM as an example application server. So what I've done here is I downloaded the starter pack from OpenLiberty and I adapted it to Kotlin. So if we look at the code, you can see Kotlin code, right? Of the KT ending, and you can see the syntax is Kotlin syntax. We have an entity and so on. So there's a lot of Kotlin stuff here. So I cheat a little bit. Let's remove that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the application. You can see here. You can see it's Kotlin. You can see it's using some of the standards from Jakarta EE, like application scope, that's CDI, right? Persistent context from Jakarta Persistence, entity as well from Jakarta Persistence, and yeah, also paths. You can see the usage of JSON. You can see I'm using a REST endpoint and so on. And now we can see here that our application started. So I have two endpoints here. I have one endpoint saying simple hello and one endpoint saying hello, just for fun. So the simple one just says hello from Kotlin. So what we can do now is we can actually invoke that endpoint. Try to do this properly. Date localhost 9080, that's the default for. Yeah, so here's the path. I put this path in my code, so the light fixes here. Okay, hello from Kotlin running Jakarta EE. That's cool, right? You can see that, well, it's actually working. You could also say, I will also add a hello endpoint that takes a parameter called name. So you could say Duke, and it says hello from hello. So this is, you can see on this, you can see here I do a repository create hello and so on. with current timeless. So you can say hello from whatever I put in the database to the one I'm trying to say hello to. So when you see when I refresh the page, the IDs and the current timeless as well switches, just to have it dynamic so you can see I'm not cheating it. Okay, so that's pretty cool, Mats. What does that mean? Well, that means that yes, you can do Kotlin with Jakarta EE. We'll see some more of the demo in a while. I just wanted to show you that this is actually working things. This is not, yeah, I'm not trying to scam you, it's actually working. So what is going on here? Okay, there's a lot of things going on. Like what are the challenges that took us there? Because yes, I showed you now that it's actually working, but like I could have been doing this for months and months and months and hacking on without showing it to you now, right? Just pretending it was easy. But let's have a look into a couple of pitfalls that stops us along the way. So in Kotlin, every class is and every method as well is final by default, or like what in Java counts as final. Whereas in Jakarta EE, final is a problem, and that is for instance due to CDI, where CDI uses proxies, and proxies demand that the classes they try to be proxy for cannot be final. So that's something we had to solve, right? And there are a couple of solutions to this. In Kotlin, you have the keyword called open, which makes classes open for extension. So like makes them non-final in a sense. What you could do is head into your Kotlin code and add open to everything that you try to use CDI and other Jakarta technologies for, which takes you somewhere along the way. And then you end up with things that Kotlin create under the hood, and then then you don't want to go that path anymore. But luckily, there is a solution to this. This is the open solution, but you can use the all open compiler plugin, which is part of Kotlin as well. At least, I'm not sure if it's part of, but it's referenced in the official documentation and it's easily available and looks well maintained. So you could say that every class with some annotations will be open by default. Open for extension, that is. So that means that you can say that, well, I want everything that's application scoped or request scoped or those scopes that you'd use for CDI to be open for extension. Whereas you maintain the original Kotlin functionality that's classes are final by default, which you typically want on everything else. That's doable. The next pitfall or problem you're going to be running into is that CDI and Jakarta persistence as well, they need no arg constructors. Whereas in Kotlin, you typically create constructors with the parameters you need for your class. And the same goes here as well. You could try to do like manually add constructors to all the classes you need. It's a dual solution here. But use the no-arg compiler plugin instead. And here is the same as well. You can list the set of annotations you can list the set of annotations on classes that Kotlin will create no-arg constructors for. Or you can use, so you have the no-arg plugin, which I referenced now, but you also have the JPA plugin, JPA specific plugin that does everything no-arg does, plus some things more. I'm not sure of the details of it, except that for everything's annotated with entity, you get no constructor by default if you're using the JPA plugin. Yeah, so those were the two things technical things you need to take care of or handle. So pitfall number 3, documentation. So I started out by earlier in this talk, I showed you a slide from Payara, the Payara webpage. Now let's see. Oh, so how is it other places? How is it over at like Open Liberty webpage or Wildfly? Like Wildfly is a great application server, right? It's big. It's been around for a while. It's pretty well documented. So if I look for Kotlin in the Wildflower documentation, I should find something, right? Right? Nope. This was like, this kind of disappointed me, I have to admit, when I first saw it. So, and this is like, it's not really many of these things I talk about, and many of the things you have to fix are easy, like obvious if you know them. But if you don't, it's like, it's hard. So some more documentation would be really nice. Just like getting started with Kotlin on OpenLiberty or on Wildfly or something. That would be nice. The good thing is like the things I talk about during this talk are typically the same things that you need to do regardless of which of the application service you're heading with. So I can help you out, but it would be better if there were some official documentation as well. So now that you are aware, let's head further. Yeah, look at the code. Exactly. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to have a look at some of the code that yeah, we can do it in slides first, and I can show you in the IntelliJ afterwards. Probably easier. So let's go. Getting started step by step. So this is like from I have an ID and I have ID and an IDE. But like I haven't downloaded any starter, I haven't written any code yet, anything like that. So let's start from scratch, and then we'll take you to something that's actually running the IDE code on Kotlin in a couple of minutes. So with most application servers, I would go to the start page and get started from there. So you can specify like which Jakarta version do you want, which Java version do you want. Use Maven or Gradle. Get started. Easier than creating your own files. And then you head over to the POM file or a Gradle file if you use Gradle. It's your choice. I think it's the same plugins are available, I think. So what you need to do is you need to add a dependency to the Kotlin standard library to have the standard library Kotlin available, of course. And you need to add the Maven plugin that generates the sources for the Kotlin files during the compile or during the process sources step in Maven. So that Maven actually handles the Kotlin files. We can see this in the real POM file in minutes. So yeah, the plugins I was talking about. So let's start with the all open plugin. So you can see here that I did the configuration. This is the configuration to the Kotlin Maven plugin we just saw. I listed here that, oh, I want everything that's annotated with path, application scope, application path, or entity for that sense to be open for extension. You can add your own things. I think you can have wildcards as well. I haven't tested it, but I think it should be fine. Just use a star. And with that done, you can use REST, you can use JSONB, you can use bean validation, and many of the other specifications in Jakarta EE, but not all of them. So let's introduce the other compiler plugin as well. Gives you an OR constructor. So you can say that anything annotated with this annotation will have an OR constructor. So I told you already that the entity class gets it for free if you add a plugin, but it doesn't hurt if you add it manually as well, which I've done in this slide. That's it. Once you've done all of this, you should be ready to get going with Jakarta EE in Kotlin, which is really cool. So let's have a look at the actual code I was talking about here and like go through it step by step. So first of all, so what I've done here is like I started with initial commit, then I did a plain copy of the OpenLiberty starter application that as you hopefully can see on the slide here on the screen here. Then I converted it from Java to Kotlin, and then I started using endpoints and so on. So this is like, you can follow the list of my Git commits as well to see like how did I get from where I started to where I am, and share the links towards the end. But here you can see the POM file. It was nice to start with POM files, right? You have the Jakarta EE and make profile. Then you have this dependency on Kotlin standard library. I also added Starby. This is like an in-memory database to prove that while it works with the Jakarta persistence, you need somewhere to save things. So we have the Liberty Maven plugin. This is all default things until here. When you come to the Kotlin Maven plugin, which you can see jumps in the process sources tab interface. I mean, then you do, yeah, you have the dependency in the plugin. You have the dependency on Kotlin Maven now working, Kotlin Maven all open, which you then reference under in the configuration part. So I didn't tell you about those two in the slides, but now you can see it that you had the dependency for the Kotlin Maven plugin, you had the dependency on the compiler plugins. Then you can have your all open classes and your no arg classes easily available. That's the entire POM file. Also, when we're talking about OpenLiberty, some of you might know that OpenLiberty has its configuration in a server.xml file. And the only things I've done to this one is like, okay, I downloaded the starter from the internet, or from the OpenLiberty starter webpage, to be precise. And then I added the data source configuration for the database I talked about, the in-memory database. Like nothing Kotlin specific here, just the database things. Same with the Docker file, I haven't touched it at all. But what I actually have done, so the application Kotlin, you can have a look at my first commit actually. That's like convert from Java to Kotlin. So then I deleted the first REST application to Java class, and I added my own application, the Kotlin class, which you can find now here. Pretty simple, straightforward, so on. So I showed you the entry points towards my code is through the paths application scope bean, which is available at /paths. So in this class, we're actually using several of the technologies from Jakarta EE. You can see in the import list as well, importing like Jakarta, and so on. There are many of them, including the REST, JSONB. I don't remember actually exactly where it's from, but it's after Jakarta. And also, you had a query param here. I said it's at not empty, so I'm using the Jakarta bean validation. And we're using the repositories, that's Jakarta persistence. So the repository class is pretty simple. I just have an entity manager and persistent find from that one. That's, yeah, and the hello data class, just to have an entity. So it's discussable, or it's probably not a good idea to have entities as data classes. But for most cases, it works pretty fine. So I'm not sure if I would do it in production, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward and easy. So that's the code. Because they're like, well, is that all? Yes, that's all. So now you can go in and write your Kotlin business logic on top of this. And that's all to the OpenLiberty part. So I started out by saying that not many application servers, like many of the Jakarta EE compatible application servers, don't really say that they support Kotlin. But I guess some of you listening would be like, well, there is one app server you haven't mentioned. which is Quarkus. And Quarkus, there is a really good documentation page on the Quarkus webpage about how to use Quarkus with Kotlin. That's the kind of page I want for every app server. So why didn't I start with Kotlin with Quarkus? Why didn't I speak more about Quarkus already? That is, yes, it's true that newest Quarkus free line is based on Jakarta EE 10. But you can see this is from the documentation, quotes from the documentation as well. So you can see that, well, the second quote here, Quarkus implements the CDI Lite specification, but not CDI Full, which means that Quarkus is aligned with Jakarta EE Core Profile 10. So what does that mean? That means that Quarkus supports the core profile you can see on the right-hand side here, but not the entire Jakarta EE 10 platform. So is that a problem? And of course, the answer is, I don't know. That's up to you. Like, if the technologies or specifications that are important to you that you are using are Jakarta EE in the core profile, then you're good. But if you need more, if you need the web profile or the full platform, then Quarkus is not, at least not for now, suitable for you. And I doubt that that's going to be changing soon. I'm not sure if anyone in the chat or coming up later would say anything about that, but I doubt that Quarkus will be supporting this for the CDI and the web profile, and yeah, like I say, next year or so. That's a choice, right? Because Quarkus does a lot of things under the hood that requires more things at compile time and less things at runtime than we typically do in application service, say pre-Quarkus, which means that some parts of CDI are not really applicable, or would not be a good idea to implement in the Quarkus, say in the Quarkus sphere, the Quarkus way of thinking. But if you're using Jakarta Core Profile and even especially in combination with Micro Profile, then Quarkus might be a great idea as well. So that's why I didn't start out by talking about Quarkus. So to summarize, it's doable. Like if you like Jakarta EE and you like Kotlin, or you like one of them and want to try it in combination with the other one, perfect, fine, do that. It's doable. And the trick, like, or the one thing to be reminded is to look for Kotlin build plugins. As I told you a couple of times, but like, if you need to remember one thing from this talk, it's like Kotlin build plugins will help you, will save you when you want to run Kotlin with Jakarta EE, or even with Jakarta EE compatible build servers, your application service. So, and I would also say, as of now, and documentation are generally missing. I did some research, like I was Googling and looking around, trying to find documentation on how to do Jakarta EE and Kotlin, or even Kotlin on Java application servers a couple of months ago. So things that might have been better for the past have become better during the past few months. I doubt it, but might be. But when I did that, I could find like 3 links or so, of which, yeah, they were hard. And well, it's room for more. Let's just put it that way. So I added a link to my GitHub. Look at that one actually. So this is the GitHub repo where I've done the things we've been talking about. You can see in the rest of my initial commit, this is what you saw in LJ a couple of minutes ago. You can follow my train of thought and me trying to figure out things step by step here. I can share this link in the somewhere as well. And okay, I lost my full screen. That's going to be okay. Yeah, we're nearly done anyway. So, okay, I've written a blog post on my webpage, which is just myname.com. That's matsopaim.com, where I said, I tried to summarize like, okay, this is what I've done. I've switched from Java to Kotlin on an application server. And this is what I've done. And this is what took me here, the steps I've taken. So it's kind of like a summary of this talk, if you want to have it summarized or in text or in text. Yeah. And that's all for now. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have questions, I guess we can have them in the chat. Yeah, so we already have a question. That's nice. Do you know if there is anybody using Kotlin with Jakarta EE? And I don't know. I hope so. I haven't spoken with anyone yet. I haven't used this in production myself. I just used it for testing and experimenting, and should be doable. As I said many times, it should be doable. But I don't know. Maybe someone else knows. If so, I'm interested in hearing about it as well. Because I think it should be done. So if there are any upcoming speakers listening or anyone else knows, then well, I will forward the chance to you, like to tell us if you know something. No other questions. Okay. Hopefully that means that my message has been clear. That you've been hanging around, so and following on. So thank you very much for your attention.